What's going on, guys? Seth here from Team Union Seth. We are starting up the RPL again, so we're into Season 2 now. So we are officially back, and it feels awesome to get this started again. Something new that we're doing for this season, we're going to include some power rankings. We're going to have standings and all kinds of stuff to keep you guys updated on everything RPL. So here with me to help me do the power rankings each week is Rishu, so say hi.
Hello.
And we have O'Caniel as well.
Hi guys.
So Rishu is the coach of the Orlando Apolitos, and O'Caniel is the coach of the Buca Cavaliers. And as you guys know, I am the coach of the Philadelphia Furos. So we are here to do power rankings. So we had the draft, and as we go through the power rankings, we will read off everyone's team for you guys. The official doc, will be linked in the description if you guys want to take a look at that and check out the teams for yourself, the schedule, and everything else relating to this league. So feel free to check that out as you guys wish. But we are going to get right into the power rankings. So let's start with the... Alright, so we're right into it. So we're going to start with number 12. Both sides have the Twin Leaf Town Torteras. So I will read their teams off real quick. So let's see. The Torteras have Battlebond Greninja, Cresselia, Chandelure, Venusaur, Trevenant, Sawsbuck, Tapu Koko, Drought Ninetales, Shiftry, Wooper, and Mega Charizard Y. So I'll let you guys go ahead and talk about why you put them where you did.
All right, I'm gonna go first. And now, here, I don't know about you, but I have this team at 12. Specifically, this team, Twin Leaf Town Torteras, coached by Coach Paul, aka some random fellow, aka the guy who sucks, and that's part of the reason why he's at 12. But to be honest, if it weren't just for the meme, for me, this team might actually just be ranked 12 anyway. Because this team is super weird. He has, I think, 4 grass types. A bunch of them share weaknesses. He drafted Wooper. He has basically no bulk besides Cress. He has literally one hazard setter, and it's Greninja. Doesn't have a steel type at all. He doesn't have a dragon type at all. I know that cores are not all the rage, but it is still kind of important to have some of them sometimes. And this team,
Doesn't
like,
have a
I just
fairy as well. Oh, Tapu Koko, sorry.
he does have a fairy, but like Tapu Koko doesn't really do the traditional fairy stuff. Like Tapu Koko is not a great dragon killer. So like he has a bunch of stuff that fulfills the same role, and almost nothing that fulfills all of the other roles that you actually need on a team. So to me, like this team is generally pretty weak. I'm gonna look for him to, I guess, make some transactions in the future. One thing I will say that is kind of fast or kind of nice about his team is it's pretty fast. A lot of the teams in the league are generally kind of slow, but for him, week in and week out, I don't really know how you build with this team, and I honestly do kind of think this team sucks.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, okay, putting Paul last is always fun, but then again, this team is definitely bad. Sorry for saying that, but it is bad. Cresselia is weak to Ghost. Chandelier is weak to Ghost. Trevenant is weak to Ghost. Like 3 Ghost weaknesses. Then there is this grass types or 3. I don't know. They're all weak
He's
to
got
fire, and you bring Sun every week with either Ninetales or Charizard.
Not to mention he has Mega Charizard Y. I
Yeah.
mean, his only defoggers are Shiftry, Charizard, and Coco. So like, what this is just not. It's pretty clear that he like winged
Yeah,
it.
he
I don't
doesn't
know.
have
We
a
want to
rock
go.
setter.
I don't know
Seriously,
how
like
inside
there's no
baseball we want to go.
only redeeming quality is the speed. So that's all I have to say.
Alright, so I guess we're looking to see if he can make an impact with his weird team or if he's going to make some transactions. So we'll look for that there. But let's go down to number 11. Both you guys, again, have the Colorado Crawdons. So, okay, why don't you start and say why you have them there.
Okay, I'm gonna start for this one. This
Read
mono.
the
Oh, you
read the team.
can read the team.
Oh, that's right.
Uh,
So we
we have
have... Uh, we have Keldeo, Drizzle Pelipper, Tentacruel, Feraligatr, Kabutops, Gorbis, Gyarados, Azumarill, Mantine, Poliwrath, and Mega Sharpedo. So we have an official mono water team here. which ironically is in the Palkia division.
Hey.
Yeah. I mean,
Alright.
this is a mono water team, and actually, if a mono team would work on any league, I think it would be water. But then again, you would need your classic electric resists for, you would need Quagsire, you would need Swampert, you would need, I don't know what else. There's
Gastrodon,
Lantern. You can get
Lantern.
Lantern. Yeah, one of those would have helped. There is no electric resistance here, and some things are 4 times uh, affected. So you're just gonna die to Volt Switch.
His closest thing to an electric resist would be Tentacruel, and that's no.
Yeah. And
Um,
most of these are not even the bulky water types like that can take any attacks. Only bulky one is Mantine and Tentacruel, and Tentacruel doesn't have recovery. So I don't think this team can go too far.
I mean, for me, you covered a lot of what I wanted to say. He obviously has 0 electric answers across his entire team. He has really bad speed tiers. If we look right here, he's got just a big gap in between 181 and nothing is faster than 108. So he did a pretty poor job spacing that out, especially because a lot of electric types do outspeed 108. There's obviously a ton of type overlap. He was really excited. He loves using mono water. And as someone who myself have used a mono type team in a league format, because I drafted mono ground in another league that was not mono type. But as someone who has used mono type myself, I will say that team building with teams like these is basically impossible. Because you are forced a lot of times to bring mons that answer the same type over and over again. So, like, I had a mono ground team, and my only water answer was Quagsire. So, like, every time anybody had anything even resembling a powerful water type, I had to bring water to Quagsire. I couldn't even run unaware. So, with this team even lacks that element. So, as far as this as a mono water or as a mono type draft league team, I think this is a weak mono type draft league team. So to me, I wish him the best with running mono water. I'm excited to see how it turns out. He does have, for what it's worth, he has a decent hazard control, and I do really like Mega Sharpedo in leagues like this. Just because when you're not forced to Mega first turn, Mega Sharpedo is kind of busted, but he's got good pieces: Shark, Gyarados, Azumarill. But I just don't really see how they work together, how they make a team, how they're anything more than just a bunch of good water types.
Yeah, lacks a lot. Definitely lacks a lot of team support. All right, so moving on to number 10. This is where you guys start to split. So, Rishi, we'll start with you with the Barbados Bibarels. So you can go ahead and talk about them. We have they have Dawnwings Necrozma, Dugtrio, Honchkrow, Alolan Muck, Gallade Bibarel, Gudra, Milotic, Scrafty, Serena, and Mega Scizor.
All right, so the reason I have them ranked a little bit lower than you, I think you moved them, they're your number 8, is that when I look at this team, I'm just kind of generally underwhelmed by a lot of the stuff here. So, like, he has some decently high value picks. Dawnwings Necrozma, I think, might be the first or second best mon that we made available. Dugtrio is obviously a very good, because Dugtrio was B tier with Arena Trap, so Dugtrio is a very high value pick. But a lot of the rest of this stuff, like, you just look at it and I'm like, meh. Honchkrow, Alolan Muck, Gallade, Bibarel, Udra, Milotic, Scrafty, Serena. Those are mons that are okay. They're not super bad for the tiers that they're in, but I think he could have gotten a lot of more value out of it. He has, again, another big, huge speed gap in between 110 and 180. There's very limited defensive synergy in between his defensive mons, because a lot of them do share similar roles. And he has, like, no offensive synergy at all. Just because he really only has 2 or 3 offensive mons, and their typings don't overlap very well. He also, again, as far as hazard control, he only has one hazard setter, and it's Doug Trio. Um, no steel type, no water types, or not no water types. He's a bad water type. Sorry, Pibberl. Uh,
He has
and
Milotic.
He has my low tick.
Yeah,
I don't think my luck's that great either. But that's a hot take.
that's a
Uh,
hot take.
and he also has a bad grass type. So as far as his team goes, the only good things I can say about it, again, Dominic's Necrozma, probably the second best one we made available. Um, and he has a good amount of versatility, but again, it kind of lacks synergy. The speed get tiering is weird, and it's just meh. I don't know. I'm not worried about team building for it.
Okay, how do you feel about the barrels?
I do agree that if Necrozma Downmix is down, this team doesn't have any threats. Like Mega Scizor is strong, yeah, I agree, but not that strong to be too scared because you can always prep with the flamethrower, HP fire, or anything, and uh, it it can't run all the moves it wants. It can't run all the Swords Dance and U-turns, Roost, Defog, and it needs to run Defog because there isn't much Defog options on the team. And if it needs to choose between these moves, it's not that big of a threat. So it heavily relies on Necrozma Downwings for the offense. But then again, I ranked them higher because the Alalamak, Gudra, Milotic is a really good defensive core. They're really hard to break down, but they all share the ground weakness. Actually, this team only has Serena as a ground resist. Oh, Hunchcrow.
And Honchkrow.
Yeah, but then again, how much are you gonna switch?
Who's switching into
Hunchcrow into
Honchkrow on a ground type that certainly has a rock type move? But like, yeah.
Fair enough. All right, so moving on. So okay, and you're number 10. I'm not even gonna attempt to say where they're from.
Tauber Bischoff
Something
Pediurs's.
All right, there we go. So I'll read off their team. So they have Tapu Lele, Nihiligo, Cloyster, Machamp, Pyukumuku, Ursaring, Volcarona, Exploud, Gourgeist, Jellicent, and Mega Sableye. So, Okan, how do you feel about these guys?
Right now, I feel really bad because after we finish recording, I'll play my week one game against them, and if I lose after ranking them 10th, it'll look really bad. But then again, I had my reasoning. This team has really strong attackers, but if you check, all of them are special attackers. Like the best and maybe the best physical attacker is Machamp, and
I
how
can't believe this man just disrespected Cloyster like this.
Yeah,
my
Cloyster
lord.
maybe. Cloyster is not always physical though. Like
That's
there's
true.
no physical
Yeah.
step type, so it's not always physical. And without Shot Smash, it's not even an attacker. And there's also Ursaring, but most of these mons are not good enough to bring every week. So every week you're gonna rely on your special attackers, which are really strong actually. Tapu Lele is really strong. Nihiligo, I think it's called, is also really strong. But then again, Explode is also strong. But Volcarona needs setup. Sableye needs setup. And there's 1, 2, 3 ghost type mons. Tapu Lele is also weak to ghost type. So it also shares a lot of type weaknesses. But then again, special attackers are really strong, but this team should have a hard time breaking a team with a good, specially defensive mon.
Oh wow, that's a weird thing for the guy who drafted Blissey to say.
Yeah.
Wow,
So
the shade.
There's
Uh,
always Tapu Lele success.
that's yeah. I have them ranked 8, so I don't have them ranked a whole ton higher, but I do have them higher. The things I do like about this team, obviously he has like really good wall breaking just by having Tapu Lele on his team. Doesn't need another wall breaker in my opinion, because
Yeah.
yeah. And the way he likes to play, I think he drafted really well for his playstyle. Because he's kind of limited in experience, but the way he has liked to play in the past is he just abuses the hell out of setup. And when you have this many setup mons on a team and somebody who enjoys setting up, it's not always easy to counter all of them. So tell me how you're going to prepare for Mega Sableye and Mega Sableye Calm Minding, Volcarona, Quiver Dancing, Tapu Lele Calm Minding, Cloyster Shell Smashing, potentially anything else that any one other one of these mons wants to do at the same time. So like, I think for me, I see what you're saying. There's not a whole lot of synergy. There's really awful defensive synergy because all of his defensive mons share typings. He doesn't have a ton of hazard control, which is something you didn't say, and he also has Volcarona, so that's a pretty bad combo. But for me, a lot of the difficulty comes in prep. So I do have it ranked a little bit higher just because I think this draft is harder to prepare for than the ones I have ranked lower. But there's stuff there. Another thing that we didn't talk about that is I consider a negative for this team is this team is by far the slowest team in the league. His fastest mon is 103. He next has a base 100, a base 90, and then base 70.
He's got Lele at 95.
No, 95.
Yeah,
I put him to speed wrong. But
I mean, he has Tapu Lele with Scarf option. Volcarona can set up to be faster.
well, Volcarona is already the second fastest mon on his team. So,
But they have good Trick Room option though, with Gorgeist, Angelus, and then Sableye.
yeah, I can see that. It's just
Machamp under Trick Room could be pretty scary.
True.
But so that is number 10 for you, Okan, and number 8 for Rishu. And so Rishu, let's have you start with number 9 for the Bloomington Glooms. So let's just take a second to appreciate the logo. And I'll read off their team. So they have Landorus, Therian Form, Azelf, Decidueye, Porygon 2, Gastrodon, Shedinja, Kyurem Black, Smeargle, Silvally, Zoroark, and Mega Blaziken.
Okay. So, I've been playing in draft leagues with this guy for a long time. And I think he'll agree with me if and when he watches this, when I say this team whack as fuck. But like, that is not necessarily a bad thing, because he does pretty well with whack teams, and I honestly expect him to finish higher than 9th in the standings. The reason I have this team ranked 9th, just on the basis of the draft, is that there's a lot of gimmicks, and I have no problem with gimmicks, but his gimmicks have no synergy at all. So, like, having these mons together on a team just leaves you open to so many different things. Let me pull up his team on my screen real quick, so I can illustrate what I'm talking about. But yeah, he's got two ghost types.
Yeah, he's got Shedinja. And only 2 defoggers. 3.
No, he has 4.
There's 4? Who else?
We're counting Lando T, Decidueye, Smeargle, and Silvally.
Okay, I guess I wasn't really counting Smeargle, but okay.
I actually counted that as a pro because I see the vision here. He did the same thing last season.
Does Smeargle gets Rapid Spin?
Smeargle gets every move, Chief.
Yeah, it does.
Smeargle gets literally every single move. Sketch.
Yeah.
The point is, yeah. So I see the vision. I see where he's going with Shedinja, but Shedinja is still bad. So like, yeah. Anyway, this team has virtually no synergy at all. It's just a bunch of powerful stuff put together that he likes, which generally I don't have a problem with. But yeah, on the basis of rating a draft, it's not great. He has like really, really poor bulk. Because you go past Porygon 2 and Gastrodon, and the rest of his team is either Smeargle or offensive, or Silvally, and Silvally is just bad. He doesn't have a skill type that's not Silvally, which would be helpful. I don't think it's completely necessary in a team like this. As far as things that I like, he's got Kyurem Black and Landorus. I like them. That's really about as far as it goes. Mega Blaziken, I think, is a very good mon, but it's also low value. So it's a decent pick, but he could have probably done more with it.
So okay.
Just generally, he's got a collection of scary mons gimmick, but there's no synergy at all.
Fair enough. So okay, you have this team ranked much higher. How are you feeling about them?
I did. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with much here, but I can see the gimmicks work. It's a really gimmicky team, but I can see like Azaf coming and exploding, then Kuren Black breaking some wall, and then there is nothing to stop Shedinja from just Force Dancing and winning. Like, you have to be prepared for Shedinja, even though it's a bad man, you have to be prepared for it.
That's
And
a fair
then
point.
there's again Smeargle just can come in and support something. You you have no idea which type of Silvally he's gonna bring, which attacks, special, physical, anything. Then again, I don't like Mega Blaziken either. I mean, I think regular Blaziken is a much better mon just because of the item diversity. It actually does more damage with Life Orb. And but Lando and Quiram are always great mons. So it has some good mons, but like some sads, there's no bulk here aside from Gastrodon and Shedinja, but Gastrodon and Porygon.
MP2.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can't slam just HP grass on everything, considering you have to have some moves for Shedinja.
No,
That's
You
a
that's
have
fair
to
fair.
point.
have
I mean,
HP eyes for Landorus. So there's like these type of synergies. You have to choose your moves carefully, and if one of your moves that is gonna counter the other one is gone, you might have a really hard time to play against this team.
Yeah. All right. So, okay, now you have a different number nine. You have the Indiana Infernape ranked at number nine, which Rishi you have them at number seven. So, I'll read off the teams. So they have Protean Greninja, Drizzle Politoed, Heliolisk, Toxicroak, Omastar, Lantern, Electros, Thunder's Therian Form, Metagross, Gogoat, and Mega Swampert. So another rain team here. So Okan, how are you feeling about the Infernapes?
I mean, this rain team is better just because of Mega Swampert, actually. But then again, the offensive power without setting up is not too high. Just, I mean, Heliolisk in rain team may seem okay with all the thunders, but it's not actually that strong. It's really frail. You can't switch into anything. Politoed is not as good of a rain setter as Pelipper, just because it's affected by spikes, T spikes. It doesn't resist grass, and it doesn't have recovery like Pelipper. Uh, Actually, nothing on this team has recovery other than Gogot, I think.
did they give
Like,
Thunderous Roost?
I don't believe so.
no.
I say.
I can't imagine they would do that with it having Prankster, the other one.
Well, the other one does have Roost.
It does.
No,
Yeah.
neither Sanders has roost.
Only either of them
Tornadoes
have
has
Roost.
Roost.
I mean,
Tornadoes doesn't have
That-
Roost because then it would be a
no, they
question
gave
mark
it a
type.
Roost.
Did it? All right. You know what? Not the
yeah,
point. Anyway, I also
It's
just
not that.
noticed
It's not that
yeah,
important.
yeah.
this team has four electric type mons, which
It's really
even
interesting, yeah.
even for a rain team is a lot.
I mean, too much type overlaps. Uh, this team is good. This team can do some heavy damage. I mean, you're gonna have at some point Mega Swampert in rain, and it's gonna do damage. Greninja is always a threat. Thundurus is a threat. But then again, they'll come prepared. You just need to really heavily prepared for water types and then your electric types, and you can stop it. Like a good grass type can just win against this team.
That's true. Yeah. So Rishu, how are you feeling about them? Because you have them ranked up a little bit higher at number seven.
I have them ranked a little bit higher. I actually don't think this is a terrible rain team. It's not the best rain team I've ever seen, but it's constructed fine. The big thing I look for in weather teams is whether they can function without the weather. Because that's an important part of draft league. Like if you bring rain every week, it's not catching anybody off guard. It's just way easier to prepare for.
True.
And I actually do think this team can function kind of well outside of the rain. Because he's got a lot of mons that just don't need the rain to function. Heliolisk, Toxicroak, Protean Greninja,
Metagross,
Thunderous. So like he can generate a lot of pressure even without bringing Mega Swampert or rain at all. And I do like that about this team. He also has very good hazard setters, so he can generate pressure that way. which will make it a lot easier for Swampert to do his job when he does bring rain.
Hmm.
The thing you talked about with electric types, I actually don't view that as a bad thing. Look at it. 3 of them don't share any weaknesses at all. Right? Like
That's
Lantern,
fair.
Electros, and Thunderous do not share any weaknesses. Which I thought was just kind of fascinating.
It is,
Uh,
yeah, it's true.
And considering all the electric types are only weak to ground, that's
yeah.
kind of
He has decent. He also has decent initiative, which I think is good, and he has. He also has a fair amount of grass answers.
Hmm.
With between Thunderous, Metagross, and Go-Go, I mean they're not the greatest, and Toxtrot, they're not the greatest, but they can
They
they
work.
can work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do have this team in the bottom half. Obviously, it has like limited synergy just because there's a ton of type overlap. The thing I found really weird is like this is the first ranked team I've ever seen where I'm like, damn, I can spam Thousand Arrows against this team and it'll work really well. Like, because most ranked teams usually have one or more bulky waters.
Hmm.
This one doesn't.
Yeah.
I do interestingly think he probably would have been better off. I think the teams that picked Greninja would have been better off switching. I think he would be better off with Battlebond, and the now Sun team, would be better off with Protean, just because he could switch types and not have his
Yeah.
stabs reduced. Um,
Yeah, I don't disagree.
but
So, all right.
he also doesn't. I was not done. All right, I have
I'm
two more
letting you
points.
finish. Go ahead.
He has. I have 2 more points. Go Goat, I actually think is kind of underrated. I like Go Goat a decent amount.
I don't
It's not
disagree.
great, but it's decent.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a dragon. Neither of the rain teams have a dragon. I don't know how either of them avoided picking Kingdra or Gudra. Neither of them have it, or even Sliggoo. Neither of them have a dragon. I, so yeah, I have him kind of higher than you, but not. I don't think this is one of the better teams.
This team also doesn't have a fairy, unless I'm missing
This
something.
team, I don't think a fairy is as necessary, but yeah, he does.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying it's something else to note. So, we're gonna slide down, as you guys can see on screen, the rankings. So we're gonna slide down to the next slide. O'Caniel has the Hartford Hurriers at number 7. So we're gonna talk about, we'll talk about them next because we already talked about all the other teams. But I'm gonna move on to the next slides. Actually, we'll go back up. So let's talk about the Hartford Hurriers.
okay.
Want to read their team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have, if my mouse decides to work, they have Landorus Incarnate with Sheer Force, Togekiss, Araquanid, Snorlax, Skuntank, Charizard, Celebi, Lucario, Haxorus, Raikou, and Mega Banette.
I mean, this team really has one of the best coaches in the league. My boy Ryan can't do anything. But then again, this team also has the best F tier in the game with Charizard. But I don't see much synergy in the team. I mean, I've always been an supporter of regular Charizard. I actually am currently using regular Charizard, and I only lost one game. I bring Charizard every week with different kind of sets. It's a really good one. In F tier, it's a really good one if you can keep the rocks out of the field. But this team would have a really hard time keeping rocks out of the ground because only defoggers are Skuntank, Togekiss, and Landorus. Like Skuntank is not gonna come every week.
Charizard also gets defog, but like yeah.
Yeah, but
Doesn't
you
make any sense.
want to keep the
Yeah.
rocks off because of Charizard. Like
One thing to note is that Banette can definitely prankster taunt, which can help keep Hazards off the field. So that's definitely
that's
something
true.
to think about.
That's true. But then again, how is Mega Bennett come every week?
Mm-hmm.
How
Is it
good
gonna
is
have taunt every week? Yeah.
Also true.
how good is Mega Bennett? That's a really big question.
Well, Landorus, Togekiss, and Charizard and Skuntank all get defog. So, but
Yeah.
but do you really want to waste defog on Landorus, and then even on Togekiss, it's kind of iffy if you want to add coverage.
Yeah.
So.
Togekiss is itself is weak to it, so
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of hard to bring a good defogger every week. And then again, there isn't too much like against Charizard. You're gonna be expecting a rock type moves. What you're switching? You don't have a switch into any rock type moves.
It's true. We have Lucario, but even
Yeah.
so, I wouldn't really trust that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucario ever switch into anything?
So, Risha, you have them ranked quite a bit higher at, I believe, number 3.
I do. I have them at 3. I low key, the more I look at this team, the more synergy I see. Which is one of the parts that you did not think there was synergy. I think I see a good amount of synergy. Just because the roles that they perform are vastly different. So even though he does have multiple flying types and some other type overlap, he doesn't have a ton of type overlap. But I think that this team synergizes pretty well, especially on offense, because all of his offensive mons do slightly different things. It's like you got Lucario, can be a potent sweeper on either side. Can also work as a wall breaker. Haxorus is just Haxorus. Togekiss can be run offensively. I personally prefer offensive Togekiss to defensive Togekiss. You got Lando I. Lando I is maybe the best wall breaker in our format. Celebi can function well, and then Snorlax. Snorlax is one of the more potent, more underrated sweepers in the game. So like, I see, excuse me, a good amount of synergy on this team, especially on offense. He does have, even though you picked apart his hazard removal, I mean, he still has 3 defoggers that aren't. So like, relative to the rest of the league, especially, that's not bad.
That's
Fair.
Especially because I think Togekiss is a pretty good defogger. I think Landers is like a pretty good defogger, just because offensive mons tend to do well at hazard. Because if you're pressuring something out, that's a good time to click rapid spin or defog.
Fair.
So
I don't understand why nobody in the league just cared enough about the hazards. They didn't draft too many, removes. They didn't draft too many hazards actually. Like most teams doesn't even have stat tracks. The ones that fight for these spikes.
yeah, no, that's a good point.
I mean, to be fair, this team has 1 rocker, and that's 2 rockers. So Landers and Celebi. Landers and Celebi.
Doesn't Lucario get stealth rocks?
Nope.
Oh yeah, we went through this.
Yeah, we went through. we went through this.
Never mind. Yeah, so I have them again. Number 3. Another part of that is the byproduct of I don't think a lot of the teams in the league are actually that good. But yeah, this team synergizes very well. Things I will say, it has a pretty mediocre speed tiers. Like 115 being your fastest mon is not ideal. That mon being Raikou is also not ideal because I can tell you personal experience, Raikou isn't that good. He has a pretty underwhelming fire water grass core. So like again, aren't that important, and I think fire water grass is probably the least important one, just as fire types aren't that great. But no matter how much you like Charizard being your only fire type in a fire water grass core that is also comprised of Celebi and Araquanid is super underwhelming. So I think in general, this team does well offensively. I played team week 1, and I can tell you that prepping for it was not easy. But there are definite flaws, and pretty apparent ones at that. So,
all right. So moving on, at number 6, Rishu, you had the Orlando Apollo-Toads, which is your own team, and Okana, you had the Emerald City Espeons. So Rishu, we'll start with you. Let's talk about your own team. I will read off the list.
He should talk about his own team. Let's start.
Who better than me to talk about my own?
Well, you'll both get your chance. You guys are all gonna talk about your own team. So, you picked Blaziken, Tangrowth, Vaporeon, Crobat, Slurpuff, Electabuzz, Zygarde 50%, Stakataka, Cofagrigus, Mesprit, and Mega Absol. So, what are your thoughts on your own team?
All right. First of all, yeah, I did. Second of all, I don't know. As far as teams I've drafted, I've played a lot of draft leagues. I am not a huge fan of this. I think this one's pretty underwhelming, to be honest. Just generally speaking, the feel that I get from this team is that it's really unbalanced. So it kind of has meh overall synergy. It's not that versatile. And in terms of offense, and this is a problem I've had in other seasons of other leagues, but in terms of offense, I basically have like 4 mons, and that's really it with this draft. Because like past Blaziken, Absol, Zygarde, and Stakataka, there's not a single mon on my team that scares you off. There's not a single mon on my team that would scare me offensively. And especially since Slurpuff is just kind of and really predictable. So, and the fact that it's not that difficult to prepare checks for Blaziken, Absol, Blaziken, Absol especially, but also Stack Attack and Zygarde, because a lot of them do overlap. Uh, so the offense is generally unbalanced. It's kind of eh. Um, I also had poor hazard removal, a little inside base. I was draft Fortress, and then I saw Stack Attack was still available. When I was going to pick Fortress, and I was like, can I make this work? And still end up with a Rapid Spinner, and I did not end up making it work and did not take a Rapid Spinner. So I I I ended up with this team. The team I drafted has two defoggers because Blaziken and Crobat both get defog. I also made a transaction. Spoilers for next week, in which I picked up a defogger. But yeah, my hazard removal kind of sucks. But generally speaking, things I do like about this team. Damn, I nailed these speed tiers. Oh boy.
Not have to toot your own horn or anything.
I have one repeat, but like past that, that's kind of nice. And other than that, I mean, I know I talked poorly about Zygarde, Blaziken, and Absol, but just like on its face, I think those things being together on the same team is easily one of the top four scariest just raw power mon, raw power offensive cores in the league, even though you can check them with overlapping mon. So like, yeah, there's definitely things I like about this team. Otherwise, I wouldn't have drafted it. But it's got flaws.
All right. So, okay, what do you think about Rishu's team?
I ranked it a little bit higher because it has the second best defensive months in the league, like Tangrowth, Vaporeon, Crobat, Cofagrius, Mesprit. This is a Electabuzz even. This is a good defensive team. But then again, you have Zygarde as your sweeper. Zygarde is your only sweeper, I think, other
So
than
Zygarde,
Taka.
Zygarde's my son. Zygarde's the best sweeper.
Yeah, but then again, all your switch-ins, your only Ice Beam switch-in is Vaporeon, so that kind of means Vaporeon has to come almost every week, which is not too bad of a thing. Vaporeon can come every week and just, use the regular Wish, Protect, Ice Beam, Scald, whatever. But then again, it kind of makes the team predictable because, your other defensive monsters, Tangrowth and Crobat, are also weak to Ice Beam or HPIs. That's kind of a major problem. It's kind of the team structure kind of limits what Zygarde can do. If you were to somehow unlock that potential, it would make the team much better. Blaziken is good. Blaziken is strongman, but it doesn't want to switch into anything, and you don't have a slow U-turn. I think Mesprit is the slowest of your U-turns.
Yep.
So it has to come after something died. Or
I mean, I got the Tom Pass on Vaporeon, but yeah.
oh, true, true. That might be a thing. And I'm really down on Megapso. Other than that, I do agree with most of your positive attributes for the team. I think this team can do very well because Tangrowth, Crobat, Vaporeon is really hard to break. Add Cofagrius, Mesprit, now Comfy to this. Like this team is really hard to break, but also this team would have a really hard time to break the any bulky opponent team.
I feel a lot of that. I just want to dispute the fact. Mega Absol great.
All right.
Don't lie.
All right, so moving on, we're going to move on to the Emerald City Espeons, which Okanio, you had them at 6, and Rishu, you had them at 4. So I'll read off the team here, and then Okan, you can give your opinions first. So they have the Kyurem White, Gengar, Galvantula, Slowking, Diancie, Type Null, Jirachi, Tornadus Therian Form, Alolan Golem, Scyther, and Mega Aggron. So Okan, how are you feeling about the Espeons?
I mean, this team is good. Like, it's definitely not bad, but there's some things that are like missing. For example, other than type null, you're really weak to ghost spam. Like Gengar is weak to it, Stalking is weak to it, Rechi is weak to it. Then you have a lot of 4 times weak mons like Scyther is weak to rocks, Golem is weak to ground, Diancie is weak to steel, and your only defensive mons are again type null, Slowking, and Mega Aggron. And Mega Aggron doesn't have Mega Aggron is a really good mon actually, but it kind of needs a good
If it had
like
recovery,
thing.
it'd be a lot better.
Yeah, it kind of needs the wish pass, and this team doesn't have that. I don't. Jirechi cannot. Jirechi is the only wish passer. I think
Hmm.
I'm not missing something.
Yeah.
And you generally don't want to run wish on Jirechi. In league format, Jirechi is almost always is some form of thunder wave, body slam, iron head kind of a mon.
But it's the wish
And
Pokemon.
it kind of is, but uh, it's actually stat track Pokemon in this team.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, it's not gonna run too many different sets. Other than that, the offense is actually really good. Like you can just drop webs with Galvantula and then sweep with Gengar, sweep with Quiram, sweep with Scyther even. I think Scyther is a really underrated mon as well because it's really bulky with Eviolite and it's really actually strong and fast. 105 base speed is no joke, and it also has quick attack. Even
Yeah.
if it wants to priority, it can just set up Source Dance. It can stay healthy with Roost. So Scyther is really underrated, and I think it's a great one.
Yeah.
But like I said, the defense is kind of shaky, but the offensive power is really there.
All right. So Rishu, how are you feeling about the Espeons? You have them ranked higher at number 4. What are you thinking?
I I share a lot of the same concerns and pros about this team that you do. I'm not going to talk a whole ton about them. Like, yeah, he's got a ton of shared weaknesses. He's got three ghost weaknesses, four fire weaknesses, four rock weaknesses.
Yo, ghost types are a
Uh,
very common thing this draft. A lot of people picked a bunch of ghost types.
Yeah.
um, so and ghost is a hard type to counter because again, it only has two types that are resistant slash immune. But like, he's got a bunch of shared weaknesses. He has very poor hazard control, especially given the fact that he has four rock weaknesses, like the fact that two of his defoggers are themselves weak to rocks, uh, and one of the other ones is type null. Like that's really not ideal. And he doesn't, like you said, he doesn't have great pull. But the reason I have this team ranked so highly is because I think this team has far and away the best offense in the league. Like Hiram White, Mega Aggron, and Torn T is pretty nasty. Especially you compare it, you add Webs to that, you add Jirachi to that, you add Gengar to that. Like this team's pretty spooky. I do not want to play this team. He's got decent hazard setting. Um, he was able to do pretty well with the speed tiers, especially given that he does have the speed control with sticky webs. So like, it, this is not a team that I'm looking forward to prepping. I'm not saying, and I do play them week 2. I'm not saying that it's impossible to prep for this team, especially given that they do have so many shared weaknesses. But when you sit down to prep for this team, when you sit down to play this team, you're just gonna be terrified the entire time. Like that's just
All right. So moving on. So Rishu, you have the Buka Cavaliers at number 5, and Okana, you have them ranked a little bit higher. So it is your team, Okan. So
Okay.
um,
I'll
I
start.
will. Okay, I'll read off the team real quick, and then Okana, you can give your thoughts, just like Rishu got a chance to give his on his own team. So you went with Mew, Gliscor, Florges, Arcanine, Rotom-Mow, Leavanny, Toxapex, Ditto, Linoon, Blissey, and Mega Gallade.
This is the replica of the first ever team I ever drafted, and I won the regular season of the league with this team. And I think this team is kind of better than the one I drafted before because I normally had Aromatisse instead of Florges, and Florges is a really much better mon.
Mm-hmm.
I had Gengar instead of Arcanine, and I think that one is kind of worse here.
Hmm.
And I had Shedinja instead of Ditto then, and Ditto is much better because the way you defeat.
Because it's not Shedinja.
Yeah.
Yeah, one fact is that, and the other fact is the opponent team has to break Blissey, Toxapex, Florges, Arcanine, Mew, Gliscor. And the way you break this team is you set up, and then you set up, and then I just bring in Ditto.
Yep.
And Ditto really fits and brings all this team together. But like I said, the team's strength lies in all these Pokemons, and your opponent is gonna try to burn them. And while he can succeed, you just chip the team down with rocks, toxic spikes, just cold burns, seismic tosses, and then you bring in Mew or you bring in Linoon, Mega Galate, and then you just sweep from there. So the team just relies on the strategy, just burn your opponent out of resources and then sweep with something. And when I used this team previously, Linoon was a league MVP with 23 kills. So I think I'm
Dude.
yeah, like I'm kind of expecting a similar strategy right now, and like Arcanine makes my defense a little bit better, but my offense kind of worse instead of Gengar. Other than that, I think Ditto will really help this team.
All right.
All right.
So, Rishi, how do you
So
feel about it?
I think you put yourself at 4, and I have you at 5. So like,
I
it's
think he
not
put him.
like
Three
He put him.
now.
He put himself at 3.
you're
Yeah.
at 3. All right.
Yeah, I'm a
So
jerk like that.
I have you at 5. I agree with a lot of what you said. I do think the Ditto pick on this team really clean. The more I look at it,
Yeah.
um,
Definitely.
putting this team in after the draft in the doc gave me like 4 different kinds of aids. So I mean, this team has disgusting bulk and a lot of defensive synergy. But the downside of that is that 99.9% of your offense is 3 Pokemon, and that's Glade, Lanoon, and Mew. So you're gonna have like 2-hour long, 300 turn battles, and
I think my record was 96 turns of a game.
96. All right, that's not
Yeah.
even that bad. That's played like 150 turn game, a 6-0. But so yeah, this team lends itself to a lot of long battles, not a ton of offensive firepower. I don't enjoy watching Stall. I played Stall for a little bit. And I hate myself now. But
Playing is much more fun than watching it. Like
it is
watching
more
is
fun,
really
but
boring.
like once you evolve past that phase, you develop a certain sense of self hatred and a lot of shame. So
Jeez.
A really underrated mon here is actually Livani.
Yeah, I
Nobody
agree.
expects Livani to do damage.
Levanu's not bad. I've never been a fan of Levan, especially with the 2 4 times weaknesses. But like, eh, um, just in general, yeah, a lot of defensive synergy, not a ton of offense. You spoke after the draft about how much you think Galade is a super high value pick. Galade is a high value pick. I don't think it's necessarily the highest
more-
value pick. I don't think it's the best mega, but like it's all right. I used it last season. It does what it does really well.
The more I think, I actually kind of wish I stick with my plan to just draft the Mega Steelix.
Okay, well, I mean that makes me mad that that was, and but that's fine. So
All right. Go ahead. Finish up.
that's all. That's all I got. Other than that, you got. I mean, you got good hazard. This is a stall team.
All right. So we'll move on to the top 3. So we already talked about the Herdiers on your side, Rishu. We talked about the Cavaliers on your side, Okanio. So we'll move on to the number 2s. So Rishu, you had my team, the Philadelphia Furos, at number 2. So I'll read off that list, and then you can talk about them first. So I drafted Infernape, Sylveon, Roserade, Jolteon, Rhyperior, Passimian, Weavile, Scizor, Noivern, Sableye, and Mega Slowbro. So why did you have my team at number 2?
All right, so like this team just has a lot of offensive. Like it's everywhere, right? Infernape, Roserade, Weavile. That's a great combo because you know what Weavile does is Weavile pursuit traps bulky psychic types, and Infernape and Roserade kill everything else. So, and also the fact that you got the best check, the second best check, I guess, the Weavile in Scizor. Like, if you can't beat something, join them. So this team has a lot of offensive synergy. You obviously did a very good job with the speed tiers. You like to play with a lot of initiative. You did a
Mhm.
successful job at getting a lot of initiative on the team. It's solid all the way around. It's maybe the best value pick draft. I don't necessarily think it's the best one, just because I don't think a lot of stuff on this team just like pops off the page like, wow,
Yeah.
I gotta go super hard prepping for that. But it's solid all the way around. The things that I don't really like about this team, I think the main thing is that there's not a whole. I don't like the bulk on this team past Sylveon and Slowbro, which synergize reasonably well together. They don't have a ton of overlap in the types that they check, but like the roles that they fill synergize really well. Uh, but past that, I mean, Rhyperior is not a great defensive mon just because of its typing. Um, and you don't really Sableye. Sableye is not a good defensive. Look at its stats. Like Sableye has 75, 65, 50, or 50, 75, 65 bulk. It's just not. It doesn't do that very well. So yeah, you got below average hazard setting. I
Mm.
mean, I love Rock's Infernate as much as the next guy. Still Rock's Infernate, and Rhyperior again is just kind of a mediocre. I think Rhyperior is best used in an offensive role. So again, not great hazard setting. You don't have great hazard control. But generally, like I said, I think the big thing that stands out to this team, why I have it ranked so high, is just solid all the way around.
All right. And okay, and how do you had me ranked at number one? So let's hear
Yeah.
why you thought that.
I mean, this team is definitely far from just a flashy team. Like, I'm looking at it and I'm not like being like, oh my god, how am I gonna defeat this mon for your any of your mon? But all of your mons can just sweep any team. Like, Infernape can just win by itself. Weavile can it. Caesar, Mega Slowbro. I mean, even Rhyperior can just sweep with just Rock Polish Weakness Policy. So it's a really scary team. You have to prepare for all of your mons, maybe except for just Sableye. All the others are hard to prepare for mons like Sylveon, Jolteon. We didn't talk about Jolteon. Like, Jolteon is actually a really good mon, especially in
Oh yeah,
tiers.
Absolutely.
I mean, the main problem I have is like, uh, one, your only defogger is Scizor, right? There's nothing else.
Noivern.
Noivern, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The second problem, like I said, you don't have that overpowered. You don't have that go-to guy for like. I mean, for my team, for example, Mew can be that go-to guy. I can just make everything for a Mew sweep in the end or Linoon sweep in the end. Linoon, even though Linoon doesn't seem like it, I have that in back. Like, maybe Caesar is the closest thing to that here.
Probably Infernate, but yeah.
Yeah, Infernape also, yeah. Then again, that's the only problem I have. But all the mons being really great kind of elevates the team.
All right. And then last but not least, we have the Durham Granville. So Rishu, you had them at number one. Okay, I know you had them at number two. So I'll read off their team now. They have Blacephalon, Rotom Wash, Amoonguss, Crocodile, Drotagon, Cryogonal, Mienshao, Clefable, Chatot, Armaldo, and Mega Metagross. So, okay, now you can go first at why you had them at number two, and then we'll close it out with Rishu.
I mean, this is a really strong team. Like, defensive core of Rotomash, Amangus, and Clefable is really good. And even Druidgon and Cryogonal are really good defensive mons, actually. The offensive wise, Mega Metagross is really good. You can't intimidate it before it Mega Evolves. It's actually kind of important. Crocodile is always good. Crocodile is really under. Crocodile is tier C. I didn't recognize that before. But tier C Crocodile is really, really, really good actually. Blacephalon is a really strong one, but my main problem is you have two really strong offensive mons. Actually, this team has Blacephalon and Mega Metagross are kind of your only win cons, and they're both weak to Ghost again. And Blessfallen is another mon that's not gonna switch into anything. That's just gonna come in after something die, or Rotom just slow volt switch. And again, another problem I have is Rotom holds this team together. If Rotom is not there that week, or Rotom died, I think this team kind of loses a lot of points. Like Blessfallen and Mega Metagross teams carry, but actually I think Rotom Wash will carry this team because it's other than Chatot, Rotom is only grant immunity or even resist. Oh, yeah, Among Us doesn't resist.
Fragonal.
Kragonov has levitate. Yeah, true.
Yep.
Still, Rotom will just has to carry the team. I think defensively, but it has really good synergy with Among Us actually, so that might help. But this team doesn't have too many setup options, I think, other than Metagross and Clefable.
Mienshao, but like
Yeah,
Mienshao can carry.
Mienshao kind of, and
Yeah,
then I mean Blacephalon with Beast Boost kind of.
yeah. The, but those are kind of like bad sweeping options. Like
Yeah.
only good release setup is Clefable, I think. So that's
Yeah.
also a problem. But other than that, this is a really strong team. This team is gonna be really hard to prep for. Good luck to Fuzzle Kittens.
All right. So Rishi, let's have you close it out. Why'd you put them at number one?
All right, so I think I agree with a lot of what you said. I think the point about Rotom that you made is really strong, in that Rotom needs to be the glue of this team. But that's what Rotom does. Um, you made the semi-hot take of saying Rotom carries this team, and I don't disagree. I think that anytime you draft Rotom form, especially because one of the better 3-1s, its role is there. It's to be a Glumon, to hold the team together in team building every single week, and be that kind of mon that can be get you initiative and be a good pivot and be a good defensive answer and be a good offensive answer when it needs to be to the threats to your team on either side. And the thing that sets this apart from your team, Seth, I think, is just it's more diverse. I think she made a point after the draft to say that this team represents every single type in the game. No
Yeah, she did say that,
um,
which is impressive.
and that's very impressive, especially with
Yeah.
11 mons. So that speaks to this team has, I think, better all around synergy than your team. I think your team might be better overall all around, but like this team synergized, this team works super well together. I disagree with the point you made, Okan, about Mega Metagross and Blacephalon being the things that need to offensively carry this team. That's not true. Mienshao and Crocodile are both fantastic offensive mons. Um, and Rotom Wash, Fragonal, Clefable, even when they need to help out, they can help out. Druddigon too. Uh, so this team also has some of the best hazard setting in the league, between Druddigon and Armaldo even, and
Crocodile.
Clefable, Crocodile, Metagross. So the hazard control is kind of because I mean Cragnol is a rapid spinner, Rotom Wash default, but like I think Chatot might be able to defog too, and Armaldo
Armaldo
does.
has
Armaldo rapid spins, but Armaldo, let me tell you from personal experience, Armaldo might be the worst rapid spinner in the game. But yeah, so the hazard control is kind of but it's got good hazard setting. It is kind of slow. Base 110 being your fastest mon is not necessarily ideal.
especially
And
having,
Druddigon,
especially having the Mega Evolve to get that.
yeah, and Druddigon itself is kind of an mon. Druddigon, I think, weighs this team down a good bit. But just overall, especially like we didn't even talk about the fact she has Mega Metagross.
Yeah, for real.
Like Mega Metagross, even though like Mega Metagross is in standard play not all that great, Mega Metagross in leagues, whoo, let me tell you what. You slap 4 offensive moves on there and you work. And that's all you need. That's 2 or 3 kills every game. So even though she does have offensive options past Mega Cephalon, sometimes you don't even need them. So this team just works all around better than I think every team in the league. That's why I have them ranked this high. Yeah, I don't necessarily foresee these being the standings, but based on the drafts, this I think is a good approximation of how I feel.
All right.
Yeah, we're gonna see the league after the week one. I think
Yeah.
I don't know most of the coaches here, so I'm hoping they won't disappoint me. The ones at least I rank higher.
Yeah, I mean, I think after week one, we'll definitely get a better look at, a good, solid power rankings of where the coaches and the teams themselves are at, not necessarily just the drafts. I know post draft, before any games can be a little bit wonky just because you don't know how good the coaches are or how well they're going to play with a certain team. So you really don't have a whole lot to go off of, but really getting to watch how the coaches use their teams over the first couple of weeks will really help give us a better look at power rankings in general and at who's really going to stand out from the rest of the league. So,
Except Paul.
except for Paul. But that's all we have. So I really appreciate you guys. I really appreciate you guys being on here and doing this with me.
I appreciate you giving us this opportunity.
Thanks for
Absolutely.
having us.
My pleasure. So we will be back next week with the week one power rankings or post week one. I guess we'll figure out which one we're gonna call that. But the week one power rankings essentially after the first week of battles. And I think that's it. So make sure you guys drop a like and a comment. I'll try to respond, or I'll be responding to all the comments if you guys have any questions. Subscribe so you guys can keep up to date with everything RPL. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.